everyone. So I thought I'd just take you out on one of my real estate jobs today. So give you my basic setup because my workflow's changed a little bit since the last time I did one of these, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of update that. But all right, so I just got my one bag here and my tripod back here, and really all I need is this bag and my one tripod, and I just got a Benro gear head on here. Just makes it a lot easier to line things up when I get in. So let's head inside and see what there is to see. Okay, not bad. Let's just turn on all the lights. And that's usually the first thing I do, is I just turn on all the lights. So just my EM1 Mark II. I used to bring the EM10 Mark II, but I just figure I'll start using this camera more. I have my Godox radio trigger and my Godox 8200 and my fisheye lens. And right now the kit lens is on here, but I just use this normally for some of the outside shots. I don't really need this indoors, so I'm going to swap these lenses out. And then this is just a backup flash, just in case I need some extra light. I rarely use this. It's just a manual flash with an optical trigger. I think it's a Yongnuo. I forget which one it is. Like I said, I think I've never had to use this, maybe except one time. Usually this is enough for most of the jobs that I get. So I put the fisheye on lens, and I set up my custom 1 and custom 2 on the mode dial. And custom 1 is just a simple bracket, plus or minus 1. And I have the lens fixed at f5.6. And just, you know, matrix metering. Nothing special. I'll just show you on the super control panel what the settings look like. And then C2 is for my flash shot, and my flash shots are just going to be in manual. So let me show you what that is. Like so. And I changed it to spot metering, and I'll show you how I expose for this office with the flash. All right, so let me just extend the tripod out. And this is an old Manfrotto B-Free tripod. It originally had a video head on it, but I rarely needed it, you know, so I just swapped it out and put this Benro gear head on here. And I'll show you how that works once we get it all set up. All right, I like to set it up so I can see the bubble level and make sure the legs are all the way out. And then I'll just center this by eye. It doesn't have to be too precise. So I've also programmed the function 1 button here to just be the fisheye correction. So I compose the shot first, and then I take it out of fisheye, put it into C1, and that'll bracket my shots. I'm going to put my Godox X1T trigger on, turn that on, turn this on, and I've already made sure that it's on channel A1. We have channel A1 TTL mode, and the flash is on, or I'm sorry, the flash is off when I'm doing bracketing, because I don't want to flash while I'm bracketing. All right, so this is where I'm going to start at. But first thing I want to do is make sure the camera is about halfway between the ceiling and the floor to minimize any kind of distortion when you use super wide angle lenses. So what I do is I just put my hand here, and it looks like it's just a little bit above the light switch here. So let me see where the legs go. So it looks like I need to take about this much off. You don't have to be really precise, but I'm just going to take off a little more than half on each leg, like so. I should have done this before I put the camera on, but I just thought about it when I was setting up. And good. All right. Now what I like about a gear head is if I need to tilt it slightly left or right, it's very easy to do, or pitch it forward and back. And then I'm just watching the level meters here and here. And I have the multi-line grid lines on the camera. Hopefully you can see that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to center the camera with that corner. So the center line is right in that center corner. And that again will help me eliminate some distortion. And I've did the fisheye correction on the camera so to help me compose. And I'm primarily focused on this wall and this wall, these two walls here. And if I capture a little bit on the left and right, it's okay. I just crop that out. And perfect. All right, let me put the camera into C1. And it has a 6-second delay, so I try not to move during this time. There, I just bracketed 3 shots, and then I'll put it into flash mode. Grab my flash. And my flash, I'm just gonna hold it up to the ceiling high as I can, something like that, while I'm taking the picture. So, then what I'm gonna do is, I have the flash mode set up in spot meter, and I did a full tutorial on this in another video, which I'll put a link to. But I'll move the focus point to the window, which is the brightest spot in this scene. And just dial in a little bit more shutter speed until I get about a negative 0.7. So negative 2/3 of a stop to kind of bring the highlights in a little bit more than the default setting. And I'll just hold the flash up. And I'll pick a focus point over here, sort of in a gray area, a middle gray. There. And that's perfect. All right, so I'm just gonna show you guys one more room and then stop the vlogging, but we'll pick up again back at the house when I do the post-processing. So I have to hold the door open with my foot. All right, let me hit the fisheye correction for composition. And I'll zoom in so you guys can see a little better. All right, so let me level it. There, good. Tilt up a little. And I'm using both the bubble level and the level meters just to kind of double confirm. And then all I have to do is pivot this. Maybe, yeah, there we go. That's about right. Good, now let me put it into C1. And I'll pick a focus point here. All right, and then just put it in the flash mode. I'm going to touch the focus on the window. And it's showing -3 EV, so I just have to increase the shutter speed just a little bit. So now I'm at -0.7 EV. Flash just got juice. I'm going to hold the flash up and take a shot. Oh, sorry. I have to pick a middle gray area to focus on, so the flash exposes for the middle gray area. All right, let me just eyeball it. Looks good. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish up shooting here. But that's basically all there is to it, room to room. I can probably finish this office in about 30 minutes and then take a couple of shots outside with the kit lens, and we'll go back to the house and I'll show you how I post-process these. Piece of cake. First thing I like to do is just separate the flash shots from the ambient light shots. So I just click on this did fire and I select all these shots here with a Control A, and then I tag these as blue, and then I just go back to all flash states, and then I'm going to change this column to show me the file type, because that helps me separate things again later. So let's take a look at the shot here of the first office. Here are the 3 ambient shots. This one, so this one was the normal shot at 2/3 EV. This was the -1 EV and the +1 EV. So 3 bracketed shots, and I don't use all 3. I just look at these 3 and I just pick the one I think looks best. And I think this one is very close to this shot, the flash shot. So doesn't look like I need to do much here. I can just import these directly into Photoshop, which is my next step. So I'm going to highlight these 2, and then I'm going to right click on them and then select Edit or Open as Layers in Photoshop. And now these have come up. And now that they're loaded, I just do an auto align. So I have a shortcut key for that to align the 2 images together. And then I select the first image here, which is the ambient shot. And I'm going to convert this layer to a luminosity, because all I want from this layer is just the light from it, the natural looking light. And then I'm going to put a mask on top of it, like so. And now what I want to do is try and fix this shot with the flash shot, because the flash shot, if we look at it, this one has the window exposed a little better, as you can see, and then all of the colors will be more accurate because I use the flash and I'm not relying on the influences from the artificial lighting in the ceiling and the natural lighting coming in from the window. So let's bring back in our luminosity layer. And what I'm going to do now is just brush out the window like so. So it comes back in nice and neat. Very, very easy. And then just below the window, you see all this shine on the floor? I also like to get rid of this by just brushing in the flash shot. And maybe I'll do a little bit on the lights here. There. Okay, that's all I need to do here. So I'm just going to close this, and it's going to automatically save it here. Or it's going to ask me to save the changes. And then when it's done, I can just go back into Lightroom once this closes. And now I have a PSD file that's highlighted here. So let's open this up and edit this. So I'm just going to hit the develop function. And over here on the left side, just above me, you can see I have some presets that I've created. And the one I want is the one that says RE bump, meaning real estate bump, plus 8mm fisheye correction, and PSD, meaning I'm editing a Photoshop file, because I have to create different presets to adjust the fisheye effect for different kinds of files. So Photoshop is a little bit different. So all I do is I just highlight this, and you can see it corrects it very nicely. And I have all these presets here on the right side. You can see I adjusted contrast and exposure slightly. I also did some automatic sharpening and noise reduction. And this is the fisheye lens correction that I use. Basically, since they don't have the Olympus fisheye lens in here, I just picked another one that's very similar. So I picked a Sigma 8mm f3.5 EX, and that profile is very, very close to our Olympus fisheye lens. And then I just added a tiny bit of manual distortion correction up to 115 instead of the default 100. And that's really, you know, pretty much spot on. Now, looking at this picture, it looks pretty good. The only thing I would probably do is just maybe reset the brightness a little bit, just make it a little brighter, bring the shadows up a tiny bit, and maybe just add a slight more texture. Just 10, that's enough. The other problem with this picture is there's a wire down here along the right side of the wall. I don't know if you can see that wire. It's a white cable. So I'm just going to brush this out. And all I have to do is just use my mouse to brush that out, like so. And let me just adjust it slightly. There, perfect. All right, now, compositionally, I'm not crazy about this either. It's just showing too much, right? And it looks distorted because that, you know, you're going to get that with any wide angle lens. So I always crop the images. So I'll just click on the crop tool here. And just like all my compositions, I like to watch the corner. So I'm going to be watching each of the four corners to see which one I can get in. So right away I can get the top right and bottom right corners lined up. And then I don't like the door here on the left side, so I'm going to crop in and just capture the office right there. And that's quite a bit of cropping, right? And I don't like too much of the ceiling, so I'm going to come down just here. So now this image has primarily the two walls, the window, and most of the floor, and a little bit of the ceiling on top. And let me just hit enter and see how that looks. And that looks pretty good. That's the one room. And I'm just going to punch in to make sure I got good enough detail. And the way I check for detail is I just look at the sockets. If I can see all three plugs pretty clearly, then I know I nailed focus and it's going to be good enough, because all these images eventually get exported to a 2 megapixel full HD image, right? 1920 by 1080. So a lot of this gets lost anyway. But that's it. All right. I wasn't paying attention and I underexposed these, but I think we can still do something. Let's pick this one. And this building was on a hill, so it looks kind of weird with the slant going down, but that's okay. Let me develop this, and compositionally I think this is fine. Let me just hit the auto button, and that brings it up pretty nicely. Let me bring the shadows in a little more, brighten the image up just a little bit more, maybe a tiny bit of clarity and dehaze, tiny bit of texture, a little bit of noise reduction, just to smooth things out. All right, good. That's 90% there. I think, let me just punch in a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit of noise because I underexposed it. But like I said, once I export this to 2 megapixels, it's really not going to show. The only other thing I would do is maybe make the sky look a little bluer because it was a cloudy day. So I usually just do that with a brush. Sometimes I'll use a whatever this thing is, a gradient. But I'm just going to dial in like a -40 and just use the brush to make the sky look bluer. And all I'm doing is basically changing the color temperature. And just a little bit random, so it kind of feels like there might be some clouds in there too. All right, that's enough of that. And then the overall image, I feel like it can be brighter. I always like the images to be nice and bright. That might be too much. Let me bring some of the highlights back. All right, good enough. That's a pick. All right, so let me highlight all the ones I've done so far. And let's say I did all of them, right? I'm done. What I do now is I look at the images side by side, and I try and make sure that they all look balanced. Like this room is the same brightness as this room. The white balance is the same in both rooms. This room still seems a little dark, so what I can do here is right over here in the quick develop panel on the right, I can just add maybe 1/3 of a stop. There. Now that room looks pretty much the same as the room on the left. The other thing I'm noticing is the ceiling has a little bit of blue reflection in it, so that's something I'm going to have to actually fix manually with a brush. So let me reset all the things, and I'm just going to add a little bit of warmth back in like so on the temperature, and just brush it in just to get some of that blue out there. Now let's look at these side by side. Now that looks a lot better. And this image here on the right needs a little bit more light, so on the quick develop panel I'm just going to add 1/3 of a stop. There. Now these two images look like they were taken at about the same brightness. And then all I do is I just highlight them all, and then I just right click, export like so, and then I'll just pick a folder that I want to send it to. So I'll send it to like my work folder for the client. And down here I just resize the fit along the long edge to 1920 width. If it's a vertical, it'll be 1920 high, but it's okay. Technically it should be 1080 high, but it doesn't matter. And I'll leave this sharpen for screen on, and that's it. And then I click export. So this wasn't meant to be like a full-on tutorial for Photoshop and exposure and architectural photography, but if you'd like to learn more about the Photoshop side, everything I learned was from Richard Baum and Nathan Kuhl on their channel, YouTube channel. So check those out for Photoshop tutorials on real estate. And you know, I did it a little bit differently, but that's sort of a good baseline place to get started. And then for the exposure, I recently did a video called Easy Exposure Tricks with Spot Metering and Flash. That's episode number 232, where in that video, I kind of walk you through everything I did in this video, how to expose for windows and then the interiors at the same time without doing any blending. And then also, if you'd like to know more about getting your lines straight in architectural photography, you know, I'd recommend watching my video number 175 on fisheye correction. But it doesn't matter if it's a fisheye lens or rectilinear lens. The architectural lessons that I give in that will apply to any camera and any lens, and will really walk you through how to get your lines straight. But anyhow, you know, these videos are kind of far and few between in terms of my, you know, me going on a job, because I was really struggling to vlog and do my job at the same time, as evidenced by I messed up those exterior shots because I just was not paying attention. Fortunately not beyond repair, right? But in any case, if you'd like me to make more videos or you'd like to see more tutorials, just remember to subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.